All right, so today we're going to be talking about housing options for your loved one. I chose this topic because it's often a question we get asked here at Elder Help about different housing options. What's the difference between maybe an independent living, an assisted living, a memory care? How do you pay for these types of things? And I know here in San Diego, housing is a huge crisis for a lot of seniors, and people want to know the cheapest option that they can have for their loved one and not obviously drain their savings right away, or maybe Social Security can pay for things like that. So just an overview of today, I'm going to go through each different type of living facility, talk about what a placement agency is, what respite care is when we're talking about a facility, and then questions to ask, things to go over when looking for a facility for your loved one, and talk about ratings and then options for someone to stay in their own home, because that is a very popular thing for people to do as well. So first, a little bit about Elder Help. We are a nonprofit located in San Diego. Our mission is to help seniors remain in their own homes independently and live with dignity there. We do this through a number of different programs that we go into the senior's home and help them to remain independent through maybe a friendly visitor, someone to help with grocery shopping. Our biggest program is through transportation, where we can provide one-way rides to seniors and help them maybe to get to a doctor's appointment or just to a friend's house, the grocery store, things like that. And then we also have a home share program, which I will be talking about a little bit later. And then, of course, we have our employed family caregiver support program, which is what I run here, where we do these webinars monthly. We can come into your corporation and do a lunch and learn, talk about family caregiving. And we have our new online courses, which I'm going to run through a little bit later in the webinar as well for anyone who is interested in those. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the different types of senior living options. So first, I'm going to start really broad with a retirement community. Sometimes this is forgotten about when we're talking about senior housing options because people just kind of don't think of this type of thing because there's not necessarily care associated with a retirement community. So this is a housing complex where residents are typically independent. The complex might provide things like activities, socialization. They might have an activities coordinator that runs for the whole community, but most likely it's a type of a group of seniors who are getting together and coming up with different activities for everyone. These typically are age restricted, and they usually are a little bit lower on the age range, such as 55 and older. And they also have the restriction of residents must be fully or partially retired. So I'm talking about things like Sun City in Arizona or the Villages in Florida. These are huge communities like the picture up there that has usually independent condos, houses, townhomes, and is a very neighborhood-like setting. Something really popular for these now is a niche retirement community, such as maybe lifelong learning, where they provide opportunities for people to still take classes through a local university. People who really like golf or cars. LGBT is also starting to become a very popular niche retirement community. And typically these are paid for fully out of pocket. These are not covered under any type of long-term care insurance, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, anything like that. So then we're just going to kind of go in order of independence here. So then we're going to go to independent living. These are usually more something like apartment or condos inside of a larger building. Usually these are 55 and older. Some of them might be 60 or 65 and older. 62 is another random age that a lot of these choose. Usually the residents are supposed to be fully independent and do not require any kind of skilled nursing or personal care help. Incontinence is usually a huge thing that independent living is looking for, and making sure that people are not incontinent. Otherwise, usually they would need to move to more of an assisted living. These usually have things like hair salons, nail salons, pools and spas in them. And then a lot of them also are now having emergency alert systems where everyone either wears some kind of pendant or does have a pull string in their bathroom or near their bed. They usually have recreational staff, so doing things like book clubs, holiday parties, bring in musical events, birthday parties, exercise clubs, art type of activities. And then a lot of them have some kind of dining, so usually at least 2 meals are offered a day. That this might be included in the rent, it might not be included in the rent. Basic housekeeping and laundry is usually available. This is mostly for like laundering your sheets and towels, but not necessarily clothes. And then transportation is usually available for doctor's appointments and the grocery store. Most independent living, you can bring in your own in-home care or home health care. It's a good question to ask if you are looking to move to an independent living. And the cost is typically between $1,300 to $6,000 per month. It just depends on the size of obviously your apartment, what amenities the facility is offering, the meals that you're getting or not getting. The average for California is around $2,800 a month, and the average for the United States is around $2,000 a month. So typically it is a little bit more expensive than either your mortgage or staying in your own home or renting a normal apartment, but you're getting the amenities of the socialization activities and the dining options as well. Assisted living, so these are still usually private apartments or condos. These, you have more assistance with daily activities and like such as medication reminders or sorting your medications, eating. They usually provide some type of meals, usually at least 2 meals a day again, bathing, dressing, and toileting. So they have nurses always that are on staff, but not necessarily around the clock. So overnight it could be a caregiver, or they could maybe not have any type of nursing staff, nurses on staff. You have coordination of services by outside healthcare providers. So you can usually have a caregiver that is just specific for you if you want to pay the extra money for that. Some of them will allow you to bring in your own like in-home care or home health care, but usually it's some kind of partnership between another home care company that you have to choose their preferred provider. Meals are usually provided, and they still do have recreational staff, so activities, games, holiday celebrations, again, people coming in for entertainment. The average cost in 2015 for the United States was $3,600 a month. In California, the average cost is $3,750 a month, and in San Diego, the average cost is $4,500 a month. And this is something I actually just learned before we started today. This $4,500 a month is more than 3 times the amount of what the average senior in San Diego is paying a month for housing. So assisted living is pretty pricey. At that average, that comes out to $54,000 per year. And this usually isn't covered under, or it's not covered a lot under like long-term care insurance, Medi-Cal and Medicaid, VA aid and attendant, but most people do pay for assisted living out of pocket. Right now on Medi-Cal, if you apply for the assisted living waiver, that list is full, but it's different for every state. So if you're in another state, you might be able to get assisted living covered under Medicaid. And then VA aid and attendance is not going to cover the full price, but it can cover usually $1,000 or $2,000, I think is the average that you will get for that per month. So yeah, assisted living. A skilled nursing facility, this is what we think of as our typical nursing home. It can also be called a residential care facility, a nursing facility, long-term care facility, or custodial care. This is where 24-hour nursing care is available, and usually people start at a skilled nursing facility as a short-term rehab stay after a hospital visit because you need that round-the-clock therapy or therapy multiple times a day. But people can live in a skilled nursing facility for the long term if they need to. Like I said, therapy is there around the clock, usually for the full day, physical, occupational, speech therapies. And then all meals and housekeeping is typically provided. And then they do still have activities usually there as well. Skilled nursing is usually paid for by Medicare for a short-term stay after the hospital, Medi-Cal or Medicaid. or long-term care insurance, as well as you can pay for it out of pocket if it's something that you don't qualify for under Medicare, if you're staying there for a longer term and you feel that your loved one needs that extra help because you can't keep them at home. And somebody asked, what is the average per month for Medicare that pays for assisted living? They don't really have an average per month. Usually it's they have approved facilities that somebody would be moving into for an assisted living that they have pre-approved that they'll pay for it. So hopefully that answers that question. If you are paying out of pocket for a skilled nursing facility in 2015, the average cost of a semi-private room in the US was $80,000, and in California it was $89,000 per year. In San Diego it's even more at $93,000 per year. If you want a private room, it's even more than that. Nationally, $91,000. In California, $104,000. In San Diego, $127,000 per year. That comes out to about $10,000 per month. Dementia care or memory care, Alzheimer's special care units. These are a little bit newer of a concept, but they're designed to specially meet the needs of somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's, obviously. Staff is specially trained to deal with people who have dementia or Alzheimer's. They are usually locked or secured. In California, units cannot be necessarily locked, but they can have something like a code to get into the building or the unit, or can have a delayed opening. Usually all housekeeping and laundry is provided, and they always have 24-hour personal care assistance on staff, either by a nurse or a caregiver. They would have a nurse at some point during the day available as well. All meals are provided. They can help with medication management. They'll have all types of therapies available, speech, occupational, physical. And then they also have social activities again, and these social activities are specific for somebody with dementia and to try to keep people involved. You know, they're aware of things like sundowning and the typical, what's the word I'm looking for? The typical behaviors that are associated with dementia. They are specially trained to deal with those types of things. This picture here is a lot of memory care units are starting to go towards where they are trying to stimulate and mimic like a neighborhood or a house. They're not just looking like a normal skilled nursing facility would with the beds and the rooms. They're trying to keep that person with dementia stimulated. In California, memory care units are typically between $3,500 and $6,000 for a private room. In a memory care unit, you can usually have a shared room as well, and that is a little bit less expensive. In San Diego, the average is about $5,500 per month for a memory care unit room, which is 4 times the amount of what the average San Diego senior is spending on their housing. So memory care is one of the most expensive options, but often families feel they need this option because their loved one isn't safe still at home. They need that locked unit and that specially trained staff there 24 hours a day because a personal family member or a family caregiver can't be taking care of somebody with dementia. Dementia care units can be paid for by Medi-Cal or Medicaid. Again, it falls under the assisted living waiver for California, which is full right now, but long-term care insurance can pay for dementia care units, as well as out-of-pocket is usually the most common way that they are paid for. So having that long-term care insurance, as you can see, is super important, not only for if you want care in your home, but outside the home as well. A care home or a boarding care, this isn't as common, but they are a really great option for somebody who wants a more home-like setting. They're typically in a building that is a home or maybe an old apartment building, something like that. They are typically in a neighborhood and home environment, and they offer the same skills, same services as an assisted living. So they have that around-the-clock staff, either by caregivers or nurses, the therapies as well. They can help with meals, laundry, housekeeping. But if you need skilled nursing assistance, you cannot live in a group home or a boarding care, you do need to go on to a higher level of care. In California, it needs to be 6 residents or less living in a care home. That is just the state law, but in other states, it could be up to like 20 people living under one roof. They do need to be licensed, so if you are looking for your loved one to go to a care home, please make sure that you are looking for their license. And they still usually have a lot of socialization activities for your loved one, but maybe not necessarily the trained recreational staff that a traditional assisted living would have, just because it's on a lot smaller of a scale. But a lot of people like that smaller scale to get to know people a lot better and have that one-on-one time with the assistants that are in there. So those are a lot of the pros to staying in a care home, but some of the cons is obviously there are a little bit fewer amenities. You usually only get 1 bedroom out of the home rather than an entire apartment, and you usually have to share a bathroom as well. And then the socialization, some people like those bigger facilities because there's a lot more socialization. You're likely to meet more people that you can become friends with, but obviously at a care home, it's less. So it's just up to the person. And they are a little bit cheaper, which is good. So for a shared room in a care home, it's usually between $2,000 and $3,500 per month, and a private room is usually between $3,500 and $6,000 for a month. Someone just asked, is there an independent living option that is home-based? I will go over that in just a little bit. Is it possible to use funds that would be provided for a care facility for an in-home care instead? If you are talking about long-term care insurance, yes, long-term care insurance can sometimes cover in-home care options such as in-home care or home care. Just depends on if you need skilled assistance or not. Good questions, guys. And then finally, a continuing care retirement community. These are often referred to as CCRCs. This is when 3 or more levels of care is on one campus under one roof, where residents can transition from one level to the next as healthcare needs either increase or decrease. So you can start in independent living, and then let's say you fall and break your hip, you can go to the skilled nursing for a few months while you need that extra assistance, and then go back to living in your independent living apartment. This is also really good, but for couples. So maybe one couple does have dementia and they need to be in the dementia care unit, but the other spouse, the husband, maybe is still very independent and he can stay in independent living, and they can still see each other every day because he just needs to walk to the other side of the campus to see the wife rather than having the daughter drive them to see each other every day, or he's still driving. It's a really popular option for couples. Entrance fees are usually the biggest thing that keep people away from going to a CCRC. They usually range from $100,000 to $1 million and above. Plus, on top of that, you still have to pay for the monthly fees between about $3,000 and $5,000 per month to still rent out your apartment. Not all of them have entrance fees, but especially nicer ones like the one in this picture probably have a pretty hefty entrance fee. So what are the benefits? Again, you can move between the levels of care, transition, and you still know the staff and they know you pretty well, and it's great for couples. And then know just, when you're paying these entrance fees, what you're getting for that, and what you're going to be reimbursed for if you were to be moving out of the facility. Most of the time, CCRCs are paid for solely out of pocket. And yeah. I have a couple of questions that just came through again, so I'm going to go through those. So someone said, when is it determined that someone needs a skilled nursing facility, but it's better for their mental, emotional, and spiritual health to be at home, so the family finds caregivers through an agency or provides care for themselves? That's really a personal question that you just need to determine through your own family on what's best for your loved one. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, but usually home care can be a little bit less expensive than going to a skilled nursing facility or an assisted living. Skilled nursing facility, usually someone really has a health issue, such as they have a trach or they do have dementia where they're not sleeping at night, and the family just can't emotionally, physically handle staying at home with their loved one, or maybe they have some kind of chronic health condition that just can't be managed at home. Those are usually the things that make people move out of their home because they would need around-the-clock home care. But if somebody needs home care for maybe, let's say, 4 to 6 hours a day while somebody's at work, or overnight care, usually, as you guys can see from a lot of these fees for a lot of these living facilities, it can be a lot cheaper. Let's say a home care agency is $23 an hour. So it's really up to the family and the finances of the person that they're caring for, and the family on what they can afford, and obviously what's best for the caregiver as well. So hopefully that answered that question. So I'm going to talk about placement agencies really quick. So a senior housing advisor is somebody who can assist in choosing what living facility is best for you. These are experts in living facilities in a local area. And the best part about them is that they are usually most likely free of charge. So this is also great for if you live out of town from your loved one and you need help with finding what living facility is going to be best for them. If they live outside of San Diego, maybe, they will know that area a lot better than you. So how do they make money if they're free of charge? They usually make money on like a referral bonus from the living facility, that they'll get a bonus similar to 1 month rent for referring somebody on to that facility. And so because they'll usually get paid by whatever facility they're placing your loved one in, they should be pretty unbiased because they're getting paid no matter what. So that is one of the really huge benefits to having one. They can also be called an assisted living referral service, an assisted living locator, a placement management service. And here in San Diego, we have a few that we would recommend. So if you want me to send out those, I can in an email, either after this presentation or if you want to email me privately. And then respite care is something that's offered in a lot of facilities that some people may not know about. So you can have your loved one go for a short-term stay at a senior living facility. If you're maybe going on vacation or you just need a few-day break, maybe you have a very busy week coming up with work. Usually these are at an assisted living or a memory care, so usually someone needs to need a little bit more care than just living independently. They need that nursing care, that personal care. These can also be really great for having a trial period at a living facility to really see what it's like to live there. And these can usually last from just a few days to maybe a week or two, and are typically paid for out of pocket. It just depends on the facility on how much they charge. And in-home respite is obviously always a great option too for caregivers if you feel that you need a break during the day while you're at work, while you're going on vacation and your loved one doesn't want to leave the home as well. And then another option for during the day respite care is, of course, an adult day center, which is typically a lot cheaper than going through either a home care agency or doing a respite care stay at a living facility. So these are typically open during the day while a lot of people are going to work. They offer meals, health and fitness programs, games, education, arts. They have, the recreational staff there as well. They have nurses on staff, caregivers on staff, and a lot of them are geared towards people with dementia. And these are typically paid for out of pocket, like I said, but are typically a lot cheaper than a lot of the other options that we have talked about today. So preparing to move, I know you guys probably have a lot of questions about what to ask these facilities, what to look for, how do you choose a good one. Assisted living, skilled nursing facilities, memory care units, and boarding cares all need to be licensed in the state of California as well as many other states in the United States. Take a tour, obviously, is the big one that you need to do. before moving anywhere. I mean, a lot of these things are just like if you were to move to a new house or a new apartment. But especially for a living facility, take a few tours. Go once in the morning and once in the afternoon to see a different perspective on a different time of day. Maybe a different day of the week is also good too, so that you see a better mix of what staff is there during the morning or during the day or on the week, during the week versus the weekends. Know what their activities are like, what activities are important to your loved one. They should always have an activity calendar available for the month to see, what happens on Mondays versus what happens on Thursdays. Have a meal there, look at their meal menu. Again, something that should always be available to know, do they have the vegetarian options if your loved one is a vegetarian or gluten-free, and have a meal there, because that's a really great way to see if you like the meals. Their nursing or caregiver to patient ratio. A good patient to staff ratio is about 1 to 15, so 15 residents for every staff member. Does the staff seem to be inviting and caring? So this goes all the way up from the director down to the caregivers. Do they seem to care that you're there? Are they inviting to you? Are they smiling? Are they saying hi? Is the facility clean and does it smell good? A lot of us have this smell that is ingrained in our memory of people that we know who have been at skilled nursing facilities, and it's really a good way to tell if it's a clean place. If it doesn't smell right, then something probably isn't right. But no, is it a difference between just one room of somebody maybe had something going on, or is it the whole facility? So a list of wants and needs. Before you go into these facilities and make a decision about where your loved one is going to live, know what is really important to them as far as what they need and want in a facility. So do they have pets that they would like to bring? What amenities do they offer? Again, the patient to staff ratio. The cost is going to be one of your biggest determining factors of moving somewhere. What activities do they have? The location, is it close to where you live or other family members live, or is it close to their doctor maybe? Do they offer transportation if you're not able to go there all the time to take your loved one to a doctor's appointment, to the grocery store? And then the living space, do they have their own bathroom, their own kitchen? Do they share a room, the size of the room, the number of residents in the facility? What level of care is available? So if someone needs skilled nursing assistance, obviously, do they have that available 24 hours a day, or what hours a day is it available? Outside spaces, so if it's important for someone to have space outside to maybe eat a meal or just take a walk, what does that look like? The parking situation, both for you visiting as well as if your loved one still wants to keep their car. And then overnight guest space, if you wanted to stay there overnight, or if you have people who are coming into town that would want to be staying there overnight as well. And just make sure you're determining, what is at the top of your list and what's at the bottom, just as if you were to be buying a house or looking for an apartment or even a new car. And some questions to ask when you are going to visit. One, I would recommend to talk to the residents. The residents are paying to be there, so they're going to give you their honest opinion on whether they like it or not, what they like, what they don't like. And then, of course, it's always good to ask around. Ask people your friends, your family, your neighbors, where have they had experience with, put their loved ones into. Ask a lot of these questions in your initial call to the facility so that you can kind of weed them out either early on or see if you still want to continue with setting up a tour. Ask the residents, the staff, what does a typical day look like? What does a Monday look like versus a Wednesday look like? Or what staff is around on the weekends? What extra charges are they going to be charging you for, such as if your loved one needs that transportation to the doctor's office, or if they want to buy a meal, if there's a delivery fee for the meals, the laundry. What kind of contract or lease are you obligated to sign? What happens if somebody needs to move out for a medical reason? Are there around-the-clock staff? When are the nurses there? When are the caregivers there? When is the manager there? What can they assist with? What can they not assist with? A lot of independent living, just so you guys know, they will not assist somebody if they fall. If they fall, they'll need to call 911 if that person cannot get up on their own. And for a lot of family members, that's a big deal. Safety questions. What's an emergency procedure like? Where are the smoke alarms, the carbon monoxide alarms? Are doors locked and secured? What about when guests come in? Do they have to sign in or check in through a front desk person? What's the move out criteria like? When is somebody asked to leave if they need a higher level of care, or are they just asked to bring in outside care? If you're looking at like a memory care unit, an assisted living, a skilled nursing facility, who makes the care plans? How often are they updated? Can the family members be involved in making those care plans? And then, of course, the security deposit or utilities. Do you have to pay for those types of things? How much is the security deposit? How much do utilities run? And with all of this, keep in mind that you're usually talking to somebody who is paid by the company to have people move in there. They're usually paid some kind of bonus for keeping their facility full. So some of these things you might have to ask a few times, but just make sure that the person you're talking to seems genuine and wants your loved one to be moving into this facility and they're not just going after the money. And then ratings for a lot of these facilities, you can find ratings online for them, especially for things like assisted living, skilled nursing facility, and memory care. ChooseWell is a site created through the County of San Diego that rates these facilities, and then Medicare.gov if you're looking for a facility outside of San Diego area, and then of course the Better Business Bureau as well. And if anybody is looking for facilities in either Orange or LA County, I can send you websites for that as well. And then I know a lot of you are asking about staying in your own home. So like I said, I did include this in here. These are some of the options for staying in your own home. I do have a whole entire webinar on our YouTube page if you want to learn more about these options. Difference between home care and home health. Home care is a caregiver coming into the home and helping with things like meals, transportation, socialization. They can help with dressing and bathing, but they are not a nurse or a therapist. So that would be home health. Home health is a nurse coming into the home and helping with things like vitals, medication management, or a physical, occupational, or a speech therapist. Home delivered meals are also a great way to keep someone at home. Adult daycare, like I talked about before, respite care as well. Maybe somebody just needs some home modifications, such as grab bars or ramps put in. Personal emergency response systems, those are things like the Lifeline button that somebody can push in case of an emergency. And then through Elder Help, like I mentioned earlier, we have our home share option. So this is a great way for people to stay in their home if they are still independent, but they just need a little bit help with the bills. So through home share, we have somebody who can come in and live in someone's home for either a service agreement, a rental agreement, or a combination of both. And if anybody is interested in that for their loved one, please let me know, and I'm happy to send you more information about that as well. And like I said earlier, it's always so important to weigh the benefits, not only through cost, but through a mentality of somebody moving out of their home. 90% of seniors are going to want to age in their own home, and there are a lot of options for somebody to do so. So be sure to, weigh the cost benefit, and then, how hard is it going to be for somebody to move out of their home physically and mentally as well. Someone asked if I can show the adult day center slide again, and I'm going to do that real quick. And then while this is up, I'm going to answer a couple other questions that came through. So can Medicare be used towards, I'm sorry, hang on. Can Medicare be used towards a care facility for in-home care instead? It depends. It's a tricky option. If you want to go ahead and email me, I can send you more information about that, just because there are a lot of limitations when it comes to Medicare, Medicaid, long-term care insurance, and things like that. And when you get into home care, it gets a little bit more complicated than just a living facility. What is the licensing for adult day centers? Should we look what should we look for to ensure we find a reputable, safe, clean, caring adult day center? A lot of that is the same as looking for a facility. Does the staff care? What kind of staff is going to be there during the day while your loved one is there? Does it look clean to you? Do they have locks on the doors or some kind of key code to get in? What is the protocol for if a visitor wants to come? The licensing for them, I don't know the exact specifications for that, but I can find out for you if you would like. And is home share just to rent out a room for money, or is it to have someone rent a room in exchange for helping the senior citizen? It can be a combination of both. So if the senior that is renting the room wants to have some help with, it's not a caregiver, so if they just want some help with like transportation, and then maybe they set up an agreement to have a few rides per month as well as the rent, they can have that in their contract. We facilitate the match in the contract as well. So yard work is another popular thing as well. My email address is corporate_relations@elderhelpofsandiego.org, and I will type that in here as well. Is it common for seniors to share homes with other seniors who have different needs? If you are talking about home share, typically, no, it wouldn't be two seniors who need to help each other. If you're talking about maybe something like a boarding care, then yes, but they would usually have extra help there as well, such as the caregiver or a nurse. Go ahead and keep sending me your questions, guys. You guys are sending really great questions. And as well as if you have a question that you don't feel comfortable asking right now, go ahead and email me and I'm happy to get back to you privately about that. I want to let you know of some upcoming events. Again, our online courses, which are available at elderhelpofsandiego.org. There is a Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body. This is through the Alzheimer's Association, and that's going to be on March 27th from 12 to 1 in Spring Valley at the library there. And then Southern Caregiver Resource Center is doing a Caring for the Caregiver workshop on April 20th at the Logan Heights Library. So if you guys are interested in any of these events, I'm happy to send you the contact information on who to RSVP to for that. And a couple questions came in. Do adult day centers typically have a age minimum? Yes, I believe that most of them do, but it's really up to the center. I will be sending out this recording of this webinar in an email, and I can also send some additional tools in there as well. And I will answer that home share question in just a second. So just so you guys know, if you have additional questions, go ahead and stay on here. I'm going to wrap up here so I can answer all of these questions that are coming through. Next month, we are going to talk about elder abuse. I will be sending out that email in a few weeks. If you want to sign up for that, go ahead and email me as well if you have any questions or want to sign up. And here is just more general information on how to contact us, how to contact me, since a lot of questions are coming in, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you so much, everyone. The questions have been great. Obviously, this was a very popular topic. If questions come up over the weekend or anything like that, please feel free to email me, and I'm happy to answer them if you go home and talk to your loved ones, your spouses, your families. So thank you so much, everyone.